fast plan. In one of my classes, a young woman asked, "What is the first step?" I explained that in 1989, 2 years after the market crashed and a recession set in, Kim and I were working on our plan. We had agreed that we would buy 2 pieces of real estate a year for 10 years. As the market crashed, we found more and more deals as more and more people panicked. In less than a year, we had purchased 5 small rental properties, each with a positive cash flow. I estimate that we had looked at over 600 properties just to find those 5 small houses that made investment sense. But now the market was getting worse, and more deals were appearing. The problem was, we were out of money. I realized that we were at the limits of our context, our reality. "So it was time to change your reality?" asked another student. "Yes," I said. "It was time to change or miss a window of opportunity." The first thing I did was admit to myself that I was being a tortoise who wanted to quit. And it was not time to quit, it was time to push on. Keeping the lessons from those fairy tales in mind, I continued instead of giving up. One day after Kim and I had just come back from a trip, the phone rang. The call was from my favorite real estate broker. "I just found the deal of the day," he said. "If you are interested in it, I'll give you a half-hour head start before I tell another one of my clients." He told me it was a 12-unit apartment house that was in a great area, and it was only $335,000, $35,000 down, and the seller was anxious to sell. The broker then faxed me the sales data on the property with a rough pro forma on income and expenses. I told the broker to give me half an hour, and I would drive out immediately to look at it. When I got there, I realized why it was such a great deal, so I dashed to a payphone and told the broker I would take it. Even though we had no money, I offered the sellers what they were asking, which was $35,000 down, and they would carry the $300,000 at 8% interest for 5 years. It was such a great deal that I could not pass it up. My only problem now was to find the $35,000 in 30 days, which is when the couple wanted to move out. "So how did you afford it?" asked the student. "Or did you afford it?" Finally, after sweating, praying, and doing our best not to quit, we took our paperwork to our bank and presented our story to the bank manager. After he turned us down, I asked him why he turned us down, and what could I have done better. Then I went to the next bank, with the first banker's improvements incorporated into our pitch, and was again turned down. Each time our presentation was clearer and much more professional. We could now explain in banker's words why it was such a great investment. The 6th banker said yes. He had the $35,000 check for us in 2 days, and with 3 days to spare, we went to the escrow office and bought the 12-unit apartment house. "What happened after that?" asked the student. The real estate market continued to slide, and even though we still had very little money, we kept buying. By 1994, the market turned up and we were financially free for the rest of our lives. That 12-unit apartment building sold for over $500,000 in 1994 and had put over $1,100 a month in our pocket during that period. The $165,000 in capital gains were rolled tax-deferred into a 30-unit apartment house, which is one of the apartment houses we still have today. That 30-unit apartment house began putting a little bit more than $5,000 a month in our pocket each month. With the other properties and investment we had, we were earning over $10,000 a month in passive income, which put us at the affluent level, and we retired. We had about $10,000 in passive income and about $3,000 in monthly expenses. We were financially free. "So it was not luck," said another student. "It was your plan that got accelerated." "We were prepared for the window of opportunity, and we took it," I said. Soon after 1994, the prices of real estate skyrocketed, and it became a little harder to find such bargains and willing sellers. The reason I tell you this story is to explain to you the importance of being willing to expand your context as well as add to your content. So today, affording a $335,000 property is easy for you because you increased your reality and your education. "Is that what you were saying?" asked a student. "Very easy," I replied. The important thing for Kim and me was the willingness to go beyond our context and our content. "Have you become an ugly duckling again?" asked a student a little cynically. "Sure," I said. After the $335,000 apartment house, we found it easy to invest up to the $2.5 million level. From 1994 to 2001, we did well in the range of up to $2.5 million, and our passive income increased to about $16,000 a month without much effort. Simultaneously, in 1996, I knew it was time for me to learn how to take a company public, through the IPO process. Also in 1996, Kim and I met Sharon Lechter, and Rich Dad Poor Dad was published. Sharon, Kim, and I founded Cash Flow Technologies, Inc. in the fall of 1997. We were entering a new world with a new context, content, and friends. Our real estate investing context remained at $2.5 million in investments. "So you moved to expand your context in other areas, is that what you're saying?" asked a student. That is exactly what I'm saying. With Sharon as a co-author and partner in the business, our little company grew far beyond our wildest dreams. Without Sharon, we would not be as successful as we are today. After working for 5 years with another investor, we have 4 to 6 companies going public through the IPO process in the next few years. Both in business and in the IPO process, our reality on what is possible has expanded considerably. Our context as to business in the IPO process has taken quantum leaps. A quantum leap in wealth. Most of us have heard of the term a quantum leap. Others may use the term exponential, meaning beyond a linear increase. In other words, 1 plus 1 does not always equal 2. In a quantum leap of wealth, or an exponential increase of money, 1 plus 1 can equal 5, 6, 7, or more. If you work diligently and build a strong house of bricks, I have found that there are often sudden quantum leaps of wealth, quantum leaps that people who follow a 1-to-1 ratio do not seem to have. For example, from 1985 to 1990, life for Kim and me was pretty much a life of financial struggle. Suddenly, between 1990 and 1994, we had a sudden and exponential burst in wealth and financial success. From 1994 to 1998, life again was pretty stable. We worked diligently building assets, more specifically businesses. Then, suddenly in 1999, not only did my books and games begin to take off, many of our other businesses and investments began to catch fire. It seemed like a sudden surge of good fortune, new friends, and new opportunities. Yet in reality, it was the years of working without much results and occasional financial setbacks that was the source of the surge in exponential wealth. The reason this happens is because the value of assets often increases exponentially while the value of your labor only increases incrementally. For example, my accountant told me that the value of one of my companies grew to $40 million in the year 2000. That was the price she thought we could sell it for if we wanted to sell it. At the same time, one of my attorneys raised his hourly rate by $25 an hour. That is an example of assets increasing exponentially and income increasing incrementally. When I look at the success of Rich Dad Poor Dad and our company RichDad.com, much of our current success is due in large part to my failures of the past. Sharon and Kim also had their setbacks, disappointments in business, and yet those setbacks became the lessons learned that contribute to our combined success today. I mention all this as a way of encouraging you to keep going, even though you may encounter some setbacks along your life's path. If you will learn from each setback, rather than blame or make excuses, your wealth of knowledge will increase. If you steadily work to be more and more generous, work to serve more and more people, work to increase your leverage ratios, I am quite certain that you too will experience these sudden bursts, quantum leaps, or exponential jumps in wealth. Going back to the stories that Rich Dad liked so much, it seems that even turtles can be pushed along with a sudden gust of tailwind. The power of networks. I came across a law known as Metcalfe's law that partially explains the quantum leap or exponential burst of wealth. Robert Metcalfe is one of the founders of 3Com, the company that brought you the Palm Pilot. His law states that the economic power of a business is the square of the number in the network. Stating it more clearly is the story of the fax machine. In my early days at the Xerox Corporation, we were tasked at selling fax machines. The problem in the early 1970s was that very few people had fax machines and even fewer people knew what they did. Since there are so few fax machines, their economic value was low. Yet as time went on and more people used them, there was a sudden burst in their popularity. Today, most of my friends have fax machines in their homes as well as their businesses. So Metcalfe's law is this. If you have only one fax machine, your economic value is 1, according to the formula of 1-to-1 squared. But the moment you have 2 fax machines, the economic value of the network does not go up linearly. It increases in a quantum fashion. The moment you have a second fax machine, the economic value goes up to 4, not 2. 1-to-2 squared equals economic value of 4. With 10 fax machines in the network, there is an economic value of 100. After understanding Metcalfe's law, the law of networks, I knew why network marketing organizations offer such a powerful tool to average people like you and me. Applying Metcalfe's law to a network marketing business, you begin to see the power of this form of business. Today, when I talk to people who are worried about their retirement or their mutual funds in their retirement account, I often recommend they add to their portfolio a network marketing business. I say to them, if you really follow the lessons taught by some of the network marketing businesses, and you build a solid business with solid people in your network, you will find that business to be far more secure than the mutual funds found in your retirement fund. If you truly work hard to make those in your network rich, they in turn will make you rich and very secure. The power of monopoly. Rich Dad often said, "The formula for great wealth is found in the game of Monopoly." Many of us know this formula, the formula of buying 4 greenhouses and trading them in for 1 red hotel. The formula for wealth found in the game of Monopoly also follows Metcalfe's law. When you look at the comparison of my poor dad's and rich dad's ratio, you may understand why my rich dad's economic power continued to increase and my poor dad's economic power remained the same. With my poor dad, his real estate holdings included just his own home. That ratio of 1 to 1 never changed. But with my rich dad, his economic power included over 450 properties and was always increasing to create a ratio of 1 to 450. In other words, my poor dad's economic power remained at 1. 1 squared is still 1. All he had was his house. In this example, my rich dad's economic power was 450 squared. He controlled over 450 rental units. His economic power was going up exponentially. When you look at my poor dad's ratio of 1 to 1, and then factor in the power that taxes had on his income, earned income, 50%, you can actually see why my poor dad's economic power did not increase, although he worked harder and harder. My rich dad's income was going up, his economic power was going up, and he was paying less and less in taxes. In 1985, Kim and I had a plan to acquire 2 new rental units a year. We began buying our first property in 1989. Once we had 5 units, our economic power was 5 squared, or 25. Not only did our economic power go up, our confidence had also gone up as our experience went up. When we purchased that 12-unit apartment house, our leverage ratio was 1 to 17, and our economic power was 1 to 17 squared, or 289. Others who only had their home and did not purchase investment property during the downturn had their real estate ratio remain 1 to 1, and their economic power remain at 1. For Kim and me, our goal for the year 2005 is to have 1,000 rental units or more in our portfolio. The question is, what is the economic power of 1,000 squared? Metcalfe's law explains